Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for episode 5 of our Hawk Nest series here. Today, we're going to be talking about mastering product data from inconsistencies to harmony. Uh, I'm Jonathan Meyer. I'm joined by Gavin Kearns. We're going to go through some quick introductions here first, but right off the top, I want to make sure that as you're watching us do this presentation, as you're seeing kind of the fun features that HawkSearch is bringing to the table to help with these inconsistencies and how we can address some of these pain points, anything ever catches your eye, there's that QR code down there in the bottom. Go ahead and scan that QR code. That will go ahead and get you on the right path to getting a demonstration where we can go ahead and really give you a tailored experience, dive deeper into all these features. Because again, we've only got 15 minutes here to really give you the whole rundown of what we're talking about. With that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Gavin to talk about what's the conversation for today.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Pleasure to see everybody again. So what we're talking about today is really kind of part 2 to what we discussed in our last Hawk Nest. And that was really about the multiple sources of data, how we can integrate that all into HawkSearch. But what we're really touching on today as, a very common thing that we see is, maybe some gaps in your data. Even though we've got everything integrated, everything has come into HawkSearch from an attribute level, maybe we still have some gaps. So what we're going to focus on today is really some of the tools that we have built into HawkSearch that are not only going to allow us to kind of maneuver around those gaps in your data, but it kind of expand your catalog and still provide a very good search experience for your customers.
Yeah, and there's a number of things that we can really do for this. I think you kind of I love this path that we're down here as part 2 of talking about, okay, now we've got the data in, because last week it was all about all the various different data sources and where those might be coming from. And part of the difficulty with that kind of we've got data from here and data from there and data from this other place is there can be inconsistencies, there can be differences between that data. And so we want to make sure that we're kind of providing a good tool set that now that we've got all of this here, what can we do? Gavin, I think there's really 2 kind of key features that we want to run through here.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to touch on, concern number 1 is really what we're going to touch on first. And this is going to be really based around some of our new AI feature sets that we've launched. So we have our concept search, we have our image description capabilities. And really what this does from a technology standpoint is looks at the relationships within your data versus trying to search something via keyword. So this really allows you to have, some inconsistencies maybe in your long tail product descriptions or however you have your catalog set up. And this allows us to search based on relationships, which is a little bit of a different approach to searching, especially in the B2B space, where it's often very attribute focused or maybe strictly part number focused. So we're gonna display that today. There's also some really cool components to this, which gets us into multi-language. So from a multi-language perspective, we can now search, say, in Spanish, even though your entire catalog is in English. So a very cool kind of new way of looking at how your customers can search for product without maybe having all that key attribute data. The second concern, as we're going to bounce through these pretty quickly, is our very kind of unique tool, which we call our SIM, our unit of measure conversion tool. This got a couple of really cool concepts behind this as well. As we often deal with, a vast amount of B2B customers, they have multiple sources of product description coming in. So a lot of our customers have affiliations to buying groups that provide the customer data. So we have some inconsistencies on units of measure. So we're going to show you how we can normalize that, still return results. So we have a lot to cover here in 15 minutes. Yeah. So I think probably best to jump into, this show how the new AI feature sets really work and what's the benefits that going to be for your customers as well as your business growth.
Excellent. Well, then let's go ahead and dive into that here. So I'm going to go ahead and take control here. And really what I want to start with is some of that kind of the classic keyword search and really kind of walk through what you're talking about there, Gavin, about there can be inconsistencies in that data and how it can help kind of bridge some of those gaps in terms of what your visitors are searching for and what that means. So the example I always like to use here to help kind of demonstrate this is, when we're thinking about kind of your classic keyword search, that's always looking for exact matches. So if I'm doing a search for hiking shoes, this is looking for the term hiking shoes to appear somewhere in the product name or in the category or in the description. It's looking for an exact match for that term somewhere in the data. But this breaks down if your visitors aren't using exact terminology. So if I'm using the same kind of classic keyword search here and I say, I need a coat for my 6-year-old, we're going to get back in kind of poor results here because your classic keyword search doesn't know what I need a is looking for. It doesn't know the term coat can also mean all of these other terms. So if we don't have coat in our product data, we're not going to get a match. It doesn't understand more of an abstract concept like a 6-year-old. What does that mean for your product data? And so this starts to break down. As you're seeing here now, it's trying to just find exact matches for other things, like the number 6 appears in this product. Maybe the term coat appears somewhere in the long description for this product. It's not a good set of results because the classic keyword search just doesn't work this way. And so what the concept search does is it allows us to take these kind of questions, understand them through a large language model. So we're using LLMs, large language models, to understand what does the request mean and also what does that mean for your product catalog. So if I toggle over to the concept search, we can go ahead and then say, it's that same thing. I need a coat for my 6-year-old. And you can see here we're getting back in much more relevant results. Because that large language model understands what the request actually means, but it also then uses that same understanding for the product catalog. The fact that the term jacket appears here, hoodie appears here. Well, those are very closely related to the term coat. The large language model understands that relationship and allows us to drive relevant results. Even though I didn't put in the exact term that was in our data, the tool understands that relationship and can deliver relevant results. But I think more impressively is this abstract concept of a 6-year-old. What do we mean by that? I didn't indicate a particular gender. I didn't indicate a particular, this is just a very abstract concept when it comes to product catalog data. But you can see that our large language model is understanding that, showing things for toddlers, showing things for boys, showing things for girls. We scroll a little bit further down, we're seeing things for youth. So it's understanding kind of the full range of what that might mean when you're saying you're looking for something for a particular age range. And this is something that you would never set up like a synonym for. You'd never put kind of this data into your product catalog, but that large language model is bridging that gap. So this is one of those key ways that we can help deliver on this, of that, how your visitors are searching can be very different from what your product catalog supports. And as everyone's kind of moving forward and playing more with these kind of chat GPTs and these AI prompts, we're getting more and more used to being able to just put in what am I looking for and describing that way without it needing to be kind of the classic keyword search functionality.
And that's really what I was going to bring up there is the ability for your customer now to ask a question and have results returned. So, it's really taking, it's almost like allowing someone to walk into a store and ask for help, but being applied in a search perspective. So, if someone's new to your site and they're not quite sure how to navigate around it or where everything's located or how you've got things structured, they can just simply come in and ask a question and get those results returned, even though the question might not have any sort of key attribute data or anything that would use to hang up that shopping experience. Now it is the relationships, and we're seeing some actual results. And I guess the key benefit to this is complete catalog exposure.
Yeah.
So if you've got things that are tucked away, or maybe you've got them cataloged a little bit differently, you're going to start exposing a lot more of your product to your customers.
Yeah. Product discovery is really one of the key features or benefits of this. The other thing that you're mentioning there, it's like someone walking into a store and asking a question. Well, there's that language aspect to that. If I'm walking into a store and I'm asking a question, I might not be speaking in English. I might be speaking Spanish or in French or any other kind of language. And we can help kind of bridge that gap there as well. So if I take this same kind of question here, I say, let's go out to Google Translate, because unfortunately I do not remember my high school Spanish all that well. I need a coat for my 6-year-old. Go ahead and add that in there. We're getting back in then the Spanish translation. And just to really kind of prove this point here, let's go ahead and start at the very top of this again. And let's go ahead and go over to the concept search. You can see that these results are now not just kind of stuck. We can go ahead and drop in that request, fully understood, pulling back in the relevant results for that particular search. It understands what that question actually is, even in the Spanish language. Even though, keep in mind, the product data has not changed. This product catalog is entirely in English. But because of this concept search and because of the way that we're doing this through like vector graphs and everything like that, we're able to bridge this gap. We can understand, well, what does that request actually mean, regardless of, I think there's like 50 different languages that we support out of the box with this.
We do.
And
Yeah.
then matching that to your product catalog. So someone's out in the field, they're looking for a particular product. Maybe English isn't their primary language, their first language. They can still use, speech to text functionality on their phone, hit that search box and still find what they're looking for.
Yeah, and this really, this really flows into the whole kind of really what we're trying to show with how you can integrate data into HawkSearch. So, I mean, the traditional method of having multi-language sites would require, a Spanish catalog. It would, French catalog, different storefronts, different screens constantly. So, in terms of that data integration, this allows you some great kind of flexibility on what you're offering or how people are searching, even though your data is in a different source. So, this is a prime reason what we wanted to show this was just to kind of show you how far the search has come along away from that kind of keyword attribute style and approach to searching. Yeah.
It kind of let's pivot over to the next piece of this, because I think this is one of the other things that we can help here is that, that idea of there's a whole other aspect to how we're bridging these gaps with inconsistencies in product data. One of those, of course, is our ability to do kind of what we refer to as a visual search, where you can upload an image and have the AI find what you're looking for related to the product catalog. Definitely a powerful functionality, but I think, again, with the interest of time, because we only have a few minutes left here already, let's move into the other end of this, where it's describing what you're looking for. So the AI that we're using to kind of understand what are your customers uploading images of and understanding what is in your product catalog allows us to be able to drive image searching, basically, for you to be able to say, I'm looking for a hat, and that'll go ahead and then, the search will find all of the hats. Well, that's not that impressive. That's pretty straightforward. But if I can describe this a little bit further, I start to use language that isn't typically associated with your product attributes. A hat that is fuzzy, we're going to go ahead and find all of the fuzzy hats. And now fuzzy isn't a product attribute that we have in our data. This is not something that, is fuzzy, yes or no, is not a data point that we have here. But because of that AI that is analyzing these images, it understands, well, what does a fuzzy hat even look like? And it starts to make those matches and understands what that terminology means as well. And you can get even more, you can kind of add these descriptions. And so the use case here is that if your visitors don't exactly know what they're looking for, but they can describe it, this is another way that we can help deliver relevant results and bridge that gap of inconsistencies in data. So I can say a hat that is that has a palm on top, and we're going to go ahead and get all those palms on top of our hats, and let's say a color as well in pink. And so now we've got all of our pink fuzzy palm hats. Really easy way for us to describe what we're looking for and still get those relevant results
without it being in the data, which is unbelievable. Yep.
Excellent.
So Jonathan,
yes,
we are running out of time, my friend. So I think we'll slide over to the next one, to the next concern, and just to kind of recap, this tool that's built into HawkSearch, we have lots of customers that are utilizing this, especially in our electrical spaces. A lot of our B2B customers are very much utilizing this tool. And again, this is to take inconsistencies in like product descriptions around the concept of units of measure and being able to standardize how your customers are able to search, even though your data does not reflect this correctly. So we'll show a prime example, but what I hope we're really trying to show here is like, so we've taken one search experience where it's a long tail search, spun it into a different language, still being able to return results, even though we had complete different, product descriptions or attributes or gaps in that data, still were able to find correct product. Now we're going to kind of show you this in the same concept, but a lot more in more of like a B2B sort of style vertical that we can utilize these units of measure for.
Definitely. And what I've been doing here is scrolling through the screen just to show you all the different kinds of unit measurements that we support out of the box here. What this really allows the tool to do is understand all the various ways that someone might submit a term like inches. So IN, INCH, INCHES, double quotation, but also understand the relationship between inches and feet. between imperial and metric values. Obviously, all the other unit of measurement values that we were showing you, weight, volume, electrical resistance, so on and so forth. You can kind of see that over here. But let's give you a live example here. So I'm going to jump over to to our client, Crescent Electric, who is using this functionality. If I say I'm looking for a 6-inch PVC end cap, we are going to go ahead and pull back in 4 search results for this. Even though I put in 6 with a double quotation, we're of course going to find those products that have that as that unit of measurement value. But we're also going to find those products that do not have that are using other ways of communicating that measurement value, INCH, INCHES. And this allows us to really kind of make it consistent. So even if you've got inconsistencies in your product data or inconsistencies in how your visitors search, which is the other kind of end of this, you might have the best data in the world, but your visitors are not always going to search in the same way. If I say I'm looking for a 6IN PVC end cap, we're getting the same 4 search results, even though this value doesn't appear anywhere in these product data or product attributes, because again, the tool understands that can mean 6, that 6IN can mean 6INCHES or INCH or double quotation. And again, just to kind of really drive home that point, we can start to get really crazy and put in a different measurement value. We're going now from a whole number to a fraction, half foot. And when we do that same kind of search here, we're getting the same 4 search results because the tool understands, well, a foot contains 12, I'm sorry, a foot contains 12 inches. And so if we're looking for half of that, we're going to be looking for 6 inches as a possible match. Same 4 search results. Just keeps it really consistent for your visitors.
It's by far the quickest we've had to get through. It's the quickest we by far had to get through those 3 sets of feature sets. Is definitely. And then, yeah, I mean, sorry, I was just, yeah, I mean, this is really just to highlight, you know, often a lot of people are hesitant to move towards maybe entertaining a new search for their e-commerce platforms because they feel that they have inconsistent data. So what we're really trying to highlight here is that we have lots of ways to utilize the data as is, and still be able to get the relevant results, get your customers to their products that they're looking for quickly and pretty easily as well.
Yeah, and I think this is, you know, we've like you said, this is the quickest we've ever done that. So again, if you're looking for a more in-depth demonstration, we are happy to go ahead and have that conversation with you. Scan that QR code in the bottom of the screen there, and that'll get you in the right place to have that conversation. But let's talk about what's next very quickly, and we can go ahead and kind of, you know, because this is episode 5, we've got episode 6. We're going to finish the thought here on this trilogy of data. So let's run through that, Gavin.
Yeah, so you know what we're trying to show, obviously, like I've mentioned previously here, is, you know, the integration of the data in, what we can do with the inconsistencies of the data. But the next step that we're going to show is really kind of some of the advanced feature sets that you can get into with HawkSearch by utilizing the data that we've now ingested. So we're going to cover off some very kind of unique, well, not unique, but very kind of B2B focused style feature sets. So one is what we call our customer entitlements. So, you know, maybe store locations, customer logins, how do we manage all of that? And that obviously derives directly from your data as well. Next one we're going to touch on is going to be, how can we personalize that shopping experience through your data, and how does that work? And if we do have time, we are going to touch on how we can also take all of that data and those touch points and anything that's from an interactive component from your site, and how can we create recommendations, which are obviously going to drive that online growth and that revenue growth that everyone's looking to do on their e-com store.
Gavin, I have to pause for a second because I love that you said we're going to show you advanced features next time. Like we didn't just tackle AI search and unit measurement.
I know, seriously. Yeah, I know. Seriously, we just displayed some unbelievable features.
But there's even more. We will tackle that next time. Again, want to thank Gavin for joining me. Always lovely having you on these and really kind of helping break down the practical applications of these. I love these conversations. We will be back next time with episode 6. Again, if you're looking for more information, go ahead and scan those QR codes, get set up with a demonstration. Don't wait for the next episode. Go ahead and get that demonstration in front of you, where we'll be happy to go really in depth and give you a super specific example. So thanks again to Gavin for joining me. We'll see everyone next time.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye.